Trump slapped India with tariffs, and India responded with tankers. While Washington fumes over trade imbalances, New Delhi has quietly flipped the script by dramatically increasing its energy imports from the United States. Since Trump returned to the White House in January 2025, India hasn't just bought more oil and gas. It's made a strategic shift that could redefine the US-India relationship. And the numbers? They're not subtle, they're surging. India's crude oil imports from the US jumped 51% in the first half of 2025, compared to the same period last year. That's not just a small spike, it's a strategic shift in energy sourcing. And it doesn't stop at crude oil. Liquefied natural gas, LNG, imports from the US have nearly doubled from $1.41 billion in the financial year 2023-2024 to $2.46 billion in 2024-2025. In fact, in the first quarter of financial year 2025-26, Indian energy purchases from America soared 114% to $3.7 billion, up from $1.73 billion in the same quarter the previous year. The momentum continued in July 2025, when India imported 23% more US crude than it did in June. What's even more striking, the US share in India's total crude imports, which was barely 3% earlier, climbed to 8% in July 2025. The rise in imports isn't accidental. It follows a February 2025 agreement between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and President Trump in Washington, where both sides pledged to expand energy cooperation as part of a larger plan to rebalance trade. At the time, India committed to increasing American energy imports from $15 billion to $25 billion by the end of 2025, with a broader goal to double overall bilateral trade from $200 billion to $500 billion by 2030. For Washington, this is a win. Trump has long criticized the US trade deficit with India, and energy exports offer a clear path to narrowing that gap. Buying American crude and LNG reduces reliance on Middle Eastern suppliers. It strengthens political goodwill in Washington, especially amid tariff tensions, and it secures long-term energy supplies at a time when India's consumption is projected to skyrocket. Indian companies are also aggressively eyeing the US LNG market. Analysts say American LNG is increasingly attractive due to competitive pricing and reliable supply chains. India's LNG demand is projected to jump 78% to 64 billion cubic meters annually by 2030, according to the International Energy Agency, which means today's deals could define India's energy security for the next decade. All of this is happening as India positions itself as the world's fastest-growing energy consumer. By 2030, India is expected to overtake China as the leading driver of global oil demand growth. Rising population, urbanization, and industrialization mean more cars, factories, power plants, all needing reliable energy. And in that equation, the US is quietly becoming a key player in India's energy mix, even as headlines focus on tariffs and trade tensions. On the surface, Trump's tariff threats and India's pushback suggest a brewing trade war. But beneath the headlines, oil and gas tell a different story, one of strategic alignment and mutual benefit. India gains diverse and stable energy sources. The US gains a growing export market and a healthier trade balance. And both leaders gain leverage in political negotiations. In the end, while tariffs dominate headlines, it's energy tankers crossing oceans that may define the real trajectory of US-India ties in the years ahead.
If you like this video, then like, share and subscribe to Mirror Now.